Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. I'm back this week. Missed you last week. Denise and I went up to Central Florida. It was the annual meeting of the Florida Baptist Convention. Got to go up there and stuck around a few extra days just to relax and spend some time in Central Florida. But I'm back this week, so sorry missed you last week. And I'm back with a new cup and some coffee in here. Yep, got my Buccaneers tumbler. Not the best couple of games for my Bucks, but nonetheless got to represent your favorite team and your favorite beverage. A little coffee with a shot of espresso in there that's keeping me going this Wednesday morning. Hope your day is going well, and thanks for joining me. When we got together a couple of weeks ago, we were kind of toward the end of Matthew's gospel, and I want to kind of pick up there. Hope we haven't lost too much momentum missing last week, but there's an interesting verse. I say that a lot, I bet, here in this account Matthew gives. We're at the empty tomb. If you remember, we've got these two women, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, who have been at the tomb. We've talked about them for several weeks, I should say. They were at the tomb the day that Joseph of Arimathea took the body, wrapped it, and buried it. They came back to the tomb a few days later on the first day of the week and found this incredible scene where the stone is rolled away. There's an angel. The soldiers are just petrified with fear, face down, kind of just shaking on the ground. And they're told the reason the stone is rolled away, the reason the angel is there is because Jesus has risen. And so it's this remarkable moment, this mind-blowing, had to be moment for these two ladies as they're there. And Matthew records this in his account. He says, "So the women hurried away from the tomb," and then listen to this, "afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell the disciples." That verse just jumps out at me. Afraid and filled with joy. This had to have been one of the most unsettling, unnerving moments of their life. See, we have the perspective of 2,000 years. We have the perspective of, we take this for granted. We have been hearing this story if you've been around church world. And even if you haven't, it is sort of a well-known account of Jesus, this cultural idea. Not everywhere, but I think a lot of folks in our world, in our area know the story of Jesus, that Easter is about Jesus' death and resurrection. So it's a story we know. It's a story we've heard before. But we forget that what we're reading, these eyewitness first-hand accounts, these people didn't see it coming. They didn't know what was going to happen. As far as they're concerned, when Jesus is crucified, when Jesus is taken off the tomb, when wrapped in cloths, put in the grave, it's over. Whatever hopes, whatever dreams, whatever they had in mind, that who they thought he was, that didn't matter anymore, because all of that ended with his death. And these women go to the tomb on the first day of the week not expecting a miracle. It doesn't say exactly why they went there, except they've got this attachment to Jesus. Maybe, as other Gospels talk about, they went to prepare his body for burial. Maybe in the rush of the Passover holiday coming up, and Joseph and Nicodemus, as the other Gospels indicate, taking care of Jesus' body, they thought, we need to do this properly. Maybe that's it. They didn't consider how we're going to roll away the stone. I mean, this is their mindset going is still grief-stricken, is still overwhelmed, is still kind of a blur of everything that's happened in the last week of Jesus' life, culminating with his death on the cross. And so it is no wonder that when they get there and experience this, it totally throws them off. And the way Matthew describes it in that vein makes absolute sense. They were afraid or terrified, yet filled with joy. Now those are two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? You're either afraid or you're filled with joy. We don't often think those are the same. We say, which one am I? Am I scared or am I happy? Am I afraid or am I expectant? We put those as opposites, and yet here we have them blended. And when if we could, and we can't, it's impossible to put ourselves totally in their shoes, but if we could, it makes perfect sense. I think if I was trying to find a time or instance where I could relate to this, where I was afraid but filled with joy, my mind goes to when our first child was born. Think about all of the expectation that goes into the process of awaiting the birth of your child. As a father, I have a different experience than Denise did as a mother, but still very expectant, very excited, and you go through the process of labor, and the baby is born, and for the first time you hear that cry, you hold that tiny little baby in your hands, and there is a sense of incredible gratitude and joy that this child that you have longed for and dreamed about and hoped for is now here. But I specifically remember, and if you've been around, you may have heard me tell this story, when it was time to go home, just, a day or so later. You don't stay in the hospital long after the birth of a baby. I think he was born one day, and maybe the next day or the morning after we go home. And so they wheel Denise out. I pull the car around, and I have to take this human being, this tiny, fragile, precious human being, and strap him into his car seat, which seemed massive compared to his little body. And I was petrified the whole way home. I drove so deliberately, so carefully. I was terrified. I was scared. As they were. I was afraid that something could happen, that we could get in an accident, that something bad would happen. And at the same time, there's this great joy that I have this child. And maybe that's the closest I can come to relating to these emotions. But it makes sense. These women who went to the tomb grief-stricken, trying to deal with that, now are confronted by the unimaginable reality of an angel and an empty tomb and a stone rolled away. And yeah, that would be this news. Could it be true? Is it possible? We're so good, but also what has just happened? Obviously, the soldiers terrified, paralyzed with fear. Certainly, there's this afraid in them, and I think that Matthew really captures the spirit of that moment and tries as best as any writer could under the inspiration of the Spirit to put us in the shoes of these women. What it must have been like to be there, to walk up that morning and experience just the first 7 verses leading up to verse 8 when they're terrified and filled with joy. To see this, to experience it, and to know that this is still the most significant moment in history, that Jesus is the Messiah, and it was proven by not just his death, but especially and particularly by his resurrection. I'm grateful for Matthew's account. I'm grateful for all of the gospel accounts that can help us hopefully understand the significance of this moment. And that phrase, that these women, afraid yet filled with joy, ran off because their lives had been changed. Everything that they thought was true now is turned upside down. And it's all because of Jesus and his resurrection. That's the message that the church has carried forward since. It's the message that the early church proclaimed. In fact, if you go through the book of Acts and look at some of the sermons that are recorded there, you'll find central to those sermons is this moment in history, not the terrified and filled with joy or afraid and filled with joy, but the resurrection, that Jesus was dead, but he's alive, and that makes all the difference. That's the message of the church. It's always been the message of the church. It's the cornerstone of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We hope that you know him as Savior and know that he is alive. He is resurrected, and he is our Savior. That's what we talk about. That's what we preach about. That's what we study about. That's why we use the scriptures. That's why we gather together. And as always, thank you for spending these few minutes with me, and we'd love to have you join us on Sunday morning. This Sunday is our Sunday before Thanksgiving, as we're moving toward Thanksgiving and Christmas. Would love to have you join us. Actually, tonight, in just a few hours, Wednesday night dinner is Thanksgiving dinner. Starts at 4:30. If you'd like to come out and join us, we'll be here for that. I know it's a very busy time of year. The next week, it's busy. School's out and preparation. So I hope you can find time in that to experience, especially that filled with joy that it means, that filled with gratitude that it means to know Jesus is alive. Hey, thanks for taking these minutes. Thanks for spending these times with me. Thanks for giving me a week away. And we'll look forward to seeing you certainly next Wednesday when we touch base again, but love to see you on Sunday too. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.